all those wonderful stories of Aragon, Rodriguez, Mr. Pekin. This reminds me how important stories are to hold community together. So it's not just the living memories, but it's actually the stories. I had the opportunity to be the keynote speaker in Española yesterday for Northern in a conference about the Manhattan Project, about the stories of the forgotten people, essentially, of the Manhattan Project. The babysitters, the woodworkers, the carpenters, and not just the Valley of Española, all the people who were contributing to that. Exactly. And the conference was called Querencia en Rock. Querencia essentially is the love of place, as we know. And so it's not just the core value of love that holds place together, but it's also feeling safe and secure, and recognizing the layers of place. As I always like to start, it's important to recognize, as I was taught many, many years ago, to acknowledge the ground upon which we stand, the Tewa land that we stand upon. And Tewa elders taught me Tiwa elders taught me a long time ago, that wherever we go, we leave our breath behind us. And certainly that breath of those antepasados that lived in this canyon road is a reminder of how important breath is like life. I think about the water that runs along this canyon road. It's like the stories, and the river is what holds it together. So the fact that you've gathered in this modern day Resolana, which is really how we refer to this type of thing up north, is really, really quite special. So I thank you for letting me be in Entremetido here, even though I'm married into the Rios family, so I'm part of the Canyon Road in that way. But I wanted to tell you very briefly, before I take off, I'm sorry I have to go. Last year, I was fortunate to have designed and implemented a project that we called Culture Connects Santa Fe, which was the city of Santa Fe's first cultural plan, and it was really about understanding all of the voices and the experiences of Santa Fe, not just about the past, but looking towards the present and in the future as well. The 7 generations in front of us. So I do think that memories are part of a place, but it's also about those future generations that have not even yet been born. That we have to, why it's so important for us to continue to steward these places. Places continue to change and they evolve. And at the same time, so much has changed in this particular region, in this particular part of Santa Fe. The demographic shift in 50 years, those of you who have lived here and who were born here know how dramatic that is. And the people who are not here any longer. It's very fortunate that you have the gift, some of you have the gift of being able to hold on to the land that was your parents and your grandparents. But there's some of your neighbors who had to leave for any number of reasons that some of you already mentioned, for taxes or otherwise. So when the McCune Foundation asked me, Estevan, we want to continue supporting that work that you started last year, what do you want, what 1 or 2 projects do you want to do? One of those projects is what I call ethical redevelopment, and it's essentially turned into an oral history project. I'm working with Little Globe because I think it's also about teaching the youth how to collect these memories. I love that we had the youngest one among us, which was, I think, is that Jeremy?
No, Tyler.
And it's really about people like Tyler being able to carry those memories forward. So we're going to focus this oral history project, we're going to at least start it out in 2 neighborhoods that are very, very different. And one at great risk of gentrification, which is Hopewell Mann, and one which is the Canyon Road area, and I'm so glad that Ms. Aragon talked about this region is bigger, right? It's all of the roads that lead into it. So we're going to start an oral history project that is really going to speak in a deeper way about some of the stories that Mr. Rodriguez was sharing. About the fact that some people left, they went to different neighborhoods, they see a shiny new built home, 2-story, but there's a great deal of loss in that as well for our communities. And that demographic change, however diverse it becomes, is still part of the loss. And the memories hold it together, but I want to capture some of those memories. And so immediately when I saw that there was going to be a gathering here today, I contacted Maria and I said, Voces, Voces, we have to gather those voices. And so I will be working with Maria and others to actually identify a few of you who would be willing to tell some of those stories for this project that we're going to be gathering. So thank you for letting me say a few words, and now I want to pass it on to you. But we are all stewards of these stories, and it's important not only to hold them, but the gifts are a responsibility for those future generations that are not even yet born. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Estevan. I know you're a really busy guy. Our last session here, I just want to very briefly introduce the last 3 people that will be discussing. Their subjects is the 60, regard to Canyon Road, the 60s, 70s, the transition era from what we've been talking about, the residential area. So I want to introduce Stephen Ernest, who's one of the co-founders of Voces. Stephen grew up in Española in his younger years, and then moved to Santa Fe when he was in junior high school. He's had a long career as an architect in Santa Fe, Albuquerque, and Tulsa, and was a member of the Santa Fe Historic Board in the 1990s. And I told him I was going to add that to know Stephen, you have to know that as a little boy, growing up in Española, he played baseball and rode horses with all the little Hispano kids and the little Indian kids from Cochiti. And so when you hear him talk, that explains. He's one of the gente. It's my honor again to introduce our new Santa Fe Living Treasure. He will be honored tomorrow. Gilberto Guzman is best described as farm boy to international known artist. He was born to first-generation farm workers in Cucamonga, California. He was a little farm boy picking vegetables and grapes. Picking grapes. And in his early 20s, he began sketching and was accepted to the Culinary School of Arts in Pasadena, and continued studying the San Francisco Academy of Art before moving to New Mexico in 1972. He is well known for his art in public places in New Mexico with numerous paintings and murals, including representing New Mexico in the National Commercial Art Competition for Absolute Vodka, as well as exhibiting in London, where he represented the United States from the Barrios exhibit. Bill Field is also a Santa Fe Living Treasure. In 2007, he received the Governor's Award for Excellence in the Arts, the first director of the Museum of Spanish Colonial Art, the only museum in the country devoted to Spanish colonial art and culture. So here is Bill.
Well, I don't know that I can add anything really to this whole kind of thing except to deal with the transition we were talking about to what happened and how all that kind of got started. My first memories of Canyon Road in 1954 when we first moved here was that I had a paper route that delivered the Denver Post on Sundays, and I had to bring it in the middle of winter time and be cold, you know, and Canyon Road wasn't paved then, so I had to come whether I wanted to or not. And I remember sliding my Cushman motor scooter around you had to kind of guide your wheels along these ruts and stuff just to be able to drive and bring this newspaper back up in here. But Canyon Road at that time was sort of, was still pretty neighborhoods of what Socorro was talking about. And my first experience actually with sort of the changing of that is with, I remember one time when I was about 14, 15, going into, I was friends with the West family, because I was in the horse breed and stuff. And Hal West had a studio right down here, if y'all remember. I remember walking in there, and I was a pretty fairly young guy, and it smelled like bacon, coffee, cigarettes, whiskey, and turpentine. And I figured it was that kind of, those kind of things that was going on. I knew that I was in a different place. I was no longer an Espanola guy. So, I mean, and for us living here, and for us kind of as children, Canyon Road was just another one of the places. To us, we thought, it was not all that particularly different, except that, I remember in driver's education, our driver's ed teacher thought it was really funny to take us kids up and have us go park with him. That was pretty funny. So anyway, I got a job as a sacker at Connie's grocery store. And I remember a lot of the people that were people that came into the store, I didn't realize that at the time, but these were very famous people. These were all the famous artists that were living up here in Canyon Road, all the Cinco and all those people and stuff, but I didn't look at them in that way. They were just regular people that came in, and I was hoping that they'd give me a tip. That sort of stuff. So it was like that, but in 1964, everything changed. And that's when we had the big controversy about we're going to pave Canyon Road.
Yeah.
That's when the aorta all of a sudden hardened up. That's when everything started to change. What happened was that Aggie Sims got in and started buying lots of property. Including the place next door, her Three Cities of Spain, and the 716, which is right next door. That was her property, and she also bought 600 in the 600 block down there where Rael's studio is and that kind of stuff. Yeah, all of that property there. What happened was that they changed the zoning from to arts and crafts, from residential to arts and crafts. That opened up a lot of money. And a lot of, well, Bill knows. Bill has been here all his life. But that's when everything started to change. And some of it, was good change, some of it was not so good change. Part of that change that happened was that my mother was a housewife, woman, housekeeper, nothing wrong with that. She decided that she made clothes and she did alterations for stores in downtown Elko Road and those kinds of things. She decided she would do something for herself. My mother opened up a store on Canyon Road right down here at 716, and had that store on Canyon Road for 17 years. The first part of it was right here at 716, and then the rent owner changed and the rent went up, so she moved across the road. And she shared the space with the Desert Sun. I have a painting here that was done by George Wooliver. I don't know if you all know who George Wooliver is. He used to do primitives of Canyon Road and that sort of stuff. It was done in 1973, and one of the things you'll notice is the traffic then was two-way. That's how different it was. And what happened was that the city fathers finally figured out that as Canyon Road became more and more popular, that tour buses were starting to clog it up.
We can't hear
you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Well, how about that?
Yes, better.
Okay. And so what happened was that as tours started to come in, tour buses started coming in, Canyon Road started getting clogged up. The city fathers in all their wisdom, what they decided to do was to make Canyon Road one way. And that's another significant change, I think, that happened. And so all of that, when we made Canyon Road, that brought in not only the changes, the residential feel of this, but also we started bringing in restaurants, big restaurants. The Compound, for instance, was designed by Alexander Gerard. Alexander Gerard is a world famous architect who did, Brand Airlines. He was very well known. This was big time. This was a different time. It was different people. This bring different blood into the community. So then Three Cities, became a restaurant, and then Earnest became a restaurant, and there was all of this new stuff that was happening. And so what happened was we started compartmentalizing all these haciendas, these family homes, and turning them into resource centers and economic centers. And that's kind of what's happened as we've gone forward in time, and that's where we live today. And the footprint has changed, the energy has changed, of course. And those of us who were innocent in when we were young, guys like Matt and myself, who went to junior high school here and grew up here, all that whole kind of thing changed. And today is when you see the results of that change. But thank goodness the Vigilas and Socorro and their family and everybody that has held on to what was their blood is still there. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness. And I hope that we keep it that way for forever. And I don't have anything else to say. I'm going to pass it on to Guzman to talk about his murals.
Can you hear me?
No.
No? No?
No.
Oh, God. Is that any better?
No.
Any better?
No.
Well,
Yeah.
my God, what am I going to do? Anyway, I hope you hear me. I came here in 1971. My wife was from here. She was the Santa Fe County nurse for 10 years. Her name was Antonia Padilla. And we met in San Francisco. She went over and we met over there. I was going to art school at that time, the Academy of Art. And doing community work in the mission. We had a newspaper going out, Yavasta, and right here you also had a newspaper printed called El Grito del Norte. So we used to exchange newspapers, and so I met her, and we came over here to visit her Santa Fe and meet her parents, and I fell in love with Santa Fe. Potholes and all. It took me a week to find out how beautiful this was. I said, boy. And I said, oh my God, what a beautiful place. I told her, as soon as this semester is over, I can't learn anymore in the academy. We're moving. So we came over here to 71. She was the first director of La Clínica La Gente before it even opened. So I met the neighborhood through that. So Jerónimo Orduño found out that I was painting and he wanted to see my work. So what was happening, they were forming a mural program, and they invited me to participate with them. And we formed a non-profit corporation, which was Jerónimo Orduño, who passed on from heart problems, and Sam Leiva, who you all probably know, he's a musician, and is connected with the museo. So we formed a non-profit corporation, and we came and painted them. Oh, by the way, Roman Salazar owns this property, it's still 7 generations also. And so they invited us to paint a mural there because they were forming a political group called CCRG. So they paid us $300 to do the mural and put CCRG on top. Ipino was part of that senator now. He was running for office at that time as a councilor. We were trying to take over the whole government at that time. And so we did the mural, and we were supposed to put CCRG up there. And they saw it, just don't do anything to it. So that was our first mural. Then we went on to paint other murals, and then we went on our own way. So that's how I got started in murals. And we went our own ways, and then I got into art in public places. We made us legit, because then I worked for the government. Before they called us, body painters. As a matter of fact, they didn't even want us here. They called every department they could think of. They didn't want us here. The gallery owners, mind you, that's what we're talking about. And so we said no. And they told us, take it to your neighborhoods. My God, we're painting a person's property that has 7 generations. How much more water do you want? And so we insisted on it, and we got it cleared up. So that stayed there. So then I got into art in public places in the 70s, and I painted some stuff for the state, which is in the that building called the Gold Star Mothers. I think that's the best one I've ever painted. In memory of the Gold Star, in honor of the Gold Star Mothers, in memory of the Patent Death March. After that, I went to London, and we could exhibit here. Okay, let's face it. I checked the records. In the Museum of Fine Arts, we had 2 exhibitions in 20 years on Hispanics, okay? That's what was happening at that time to our artists. So I went to London, and I painted a large mural called an anti-war mural. I had a one-man show. And I came back and did the big mural on Guadalupe Street. And so I did other murals in town, so not just a bit too much into it. But I've been so honored to be a part of Santa Fe. They talk about all the stores that were here. I was part of that. I was fortunate enough that I lived on Alameda Street and was able to walk Rael's runway to the store. That's where I bought my liquor. So I was fortunate enough to see at least part of the stuff before it got destroyed. And so that's where I'm at now. And I'm very thankful for the award. I've never received an award in my life. So this is very, very, very meaningful to me. And I want to thank you all for being here and for the reception you've given me. I'm so proud to be part of Santa Fe and being part of the history of it. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I am here for several reasons. One, I would like to thank Jerry Kerr for inviting my wife and I to this event. It's fascinating. And 2, he knew because he invited me because I was born across the street and raised on 2 Saragordo Road in a house built by Maria's father and a few other guys.
With my grandpa.
Grandfather. That's right.
And a lot of the materials came from Virginia's grandfather.
I skipped a generation, I'm sorry. And I wanted to